Yes, Massive and crew, today's video is about room acoustic tips to help with your sound. Basically over here, as you can see, I've got acoustic tiles which I bought from eBay. They're about 40 quid for a load of these. These are pretty handy, and also I used a piece of software called Room EQ Wizard. Now Room EQ Wizard helps you lay out your speakers, you measure your room correctly, and you measure the position of your speakers, and it shows you frequency response for your room, ideal frequency response. You can also use a microphone for that. With the program I wasn't able to set that up, but I'm going to explain that in more detail now.
And this is a program that helps you to kind of set up your acoustics in your room. Now at the moment I'm looking to purchase a condenser mic and set that up with one of the Behringer spectrum analyzers to check out my room, because I'm finding that the room that I've got at the moment is a little bit, how can I say, the sound of it is not got a very good bass response. So I've had a little shuffle round and messed about this program, and it kind of gave me insight as to where I am and where to set the speakers up in my room. Now I'm not an expert at this program, but I'm sure if you look around and look into a bit of research on it, you'll find things interesting. You can use this sort of white noise generator. To give you an example, you've got like a pink noise generator, and that plays like a little kind of hissing noise, and basically you use that to have a look at the frequency in your room. Again, you need to buy like a condenser microphone, and I'm going to be testing that one out in a video in the future, and seeing if I can get that to work with this. But one of the things that I wanted to show you most importantly was this room simulator. Now this room simulator, if you measure things accurately and mess about with the settings in here, it can give you an idea of where you're at in terms of frequency and response in your room. Now all I've done, basically, this is a simulation of the room that I'm using currently now. And basically I've got my speakers so that, as you see here, they're like maybe a foot from the wall here and another foot from the wall. My monitors are somewhere up here, as in, when I say monitors I mean the TV screens, and then I've got my sub, which are basically, these are my Rocket 5s. This is kind of like my sweet spot here where I sit, but I've got my Rocket 5s here, and I've got my Tannoy reveals round about here to give you an idea. And then I've got my sub, I call them my subs, but they're just the Rocket 8s. So if I wanted to turn those on and have a listen, it'll give you an idea. But then basically what you've got to do up here is you set your you set your measurement to feet, or meters, or however you want to do it, and you just get a tape measure and you put one on one wall, put another one, you just run it across to this wall, and then that's going to be your width. I put my room's 10 foot 11 inches. And then basically you do the length of your room from here to here, and on there, as you can see, it's 9 foot 2 inches. Then I measure the height of the room, which is from the ground to the ceiling, and I've got 8 foot 10 inches in my studio. It's quite high. So this is the setup here. So as you can see now, once you start moving speakers about and stuff, you'll see how it is. Now you're supposed to have a flat frequency response, so in theory the idea is that this is pretty much straight, I would imagine. Like I said, I'm no expert. It would be good if an expert can comment and help us as a community. From what I gather here, I can hear all my mid, and this is basically a pretty much an accurate picture in my experience with my room. In my room, the mid, tops and stuff, they sound great. The lower mid, you can see here, I'm getting a good response up to about 60, then at 50 it drops off, and then the 30 and the 20 is quite low. Yeah, so originally I had my Rockets sort of somewhere sort of around here, and as you can see, they were sounding kind of crap, to be honest. I weren't really liking the sound of it, so I've stuck them in corners now, because even though in this room that I've got here, there is actually a kind of like a chimney part to this which sticks out a bit here, and then there's a kind of cavity, and it's a bit of a pain in the ass because this tends to suck up the bass in the room, as you can see here. But as I've set that up now, I can see the frequency response, which means that I can basically rely on what I see here. I can say, well, my room's not got great bass response, so I know not to overdo the bass, because you tend to turn up the bass line. Now, once again, down here, you can turn off your subs. So, for example, if you have one sub in the room, look at that, wow. But basically, if I set this up, you can see you can put your subs on here. You can set, oh yeah, another important thing is you can set if you've got a crossover, which I don't, you can set the crossover filter frequency, and here you can set your low frequency amount on your speakers, and so I would assume that's how low your speakers go. Mine on the Rocket 8s are 35 Hertz roughly, and you put here whether your speakers are ported. Again, with my Rocket 5s, I'd say the bass is sort of showing about 80, and they're ported. You've got the fronts ported, means the holes are on the front of the speakers, and you get that kind of air coming out the front. So this basically sets it off because it wants to know how close it is to the wall and how that is. So it works it all out for you. To give you a kind of head start, you can see it's pretty much flatty frequency. There's a little bit of a dip here, and then it comes down. And then there's sort of low bass response. So I know not to overdo the bass when I'm mixing, because it's harder to sort of hear it. Mind you, setting up my Rocket 8s in the corner has made a huge difference to the sound in here. That's pretty much all I've discovered on this one, peeps. And like I said, I've got the Behringer Ultra Curve coming in, and I'm going to connect that to a condenser mic, and I'm going to do a video about that. I hope you found this sort of tutorial useful. I'm sorry I couldn't go bang into all of the full stuff that this thing can do, but just to give you an idea of how you can quickly use it without any equipment, just to get an idea of your room shape, so that you can kind of know where to, you know, how you're going to go about mixing. If you're going to add loads of bass, if you're going to add loads of tops, if the top sounds dull, because potentially it could be your room. And what you really and truly would want to do is make sure your room's treated with a bit of soundproofing, not soundproofing materials, but, you know, acoustic dampening materials on the wall. You could have it in strategic places, or you can also buy them in eBay. There's a guy on there that sells them by the pack or by the box, and you get about 40 squares, which potentially can cover a whole small room. For about 40 quid, I think it is. I'll post that up on here so you can see. Alright peeps, that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out samploids.co.uk for all your sample packs. Take care, God bless, peace.